Spotlight.
This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a special series, 2025, the Year of Reforms. Today's discussion is on a year of infrastructure breakthroughs. The participants are Aditi Tandon, senior journalist, and Harsh Ranjan, anchor.
Hello and welcome. We are at the fag end of the year 2025. Today, we will be talking about the year that didn't just pass by on the calendar. It laid tracks, poured concrete, dug tunnels, lifted bridges, and connected lives. 2025 is being called a defining year in India's infrastructure journey, a year when ambition finally met the ground. Joining us in the studio is senior journalist Aditi Tandon, who is closely covering India's infrastructure growth. Aditi, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
2025, Aditi, this year is being described as a watershed year for India's infrastructure journey. From your perspective, what makes this year truly different from earlier phases of development in India?
See, in my opinion, few milestone events have occurred in the infrastructure journey of the country in 2025. I would summarize these milestone events as follows. First is the inauguration of the Chenab Bridge, the world's highest bridge in Kashmir, which has connected Kashmir to Jammu and also to the rest of the country through the railway network. It's a big watershed moment. Second is the opening of the Zedmore Tunnel, which has...
That again in Jammu and Kashmir.
Exactly. Again in Jammu and Kashmir. Two very important, although not much publicized events that we should not forget are the fact that light reached the last mile in the true sense of the word, because 17 remote villages in Chhattisgarh's Naxal-infected areas in Mohla, Manpur, Ambagad areas received electricity from the grid circuit network for the first time since independence. Not just that, also the first bus arrived in Katejari of Gadchiroli, again a Naxal-infested belt, for the first time since independence. The first bus arriving in a village. Imagine the joy of the people of the village. So I think in the sense of national mainstreaming, from connecting Mizoram in northeast to the main railway network in the country, from mainstreaming Kashmir railway network with India and Jammu, and then taking the basics like a bus and power and light to red districts of the country where the government's maximum will is on display, because we are very close to the March 2026 deadline when Union Home Minister Amit Shah has said that left-wing extremism will be fully eradicated, eliminated from India. So these are big events.
Yes, Aditi, you talked about Chenab Bridge because 2025 also saw the inauguration of this Chenab Bridge, the world's highest railway bridge. And it was really difficult constructing bridge at this height. Beyond the engineering achievement, what does this project mean for all-weather connectivity and national integration, especially for Kashmir Valley?
See, Kashmir Valley's actual mainstreaming will now begin as far as the infrastructure sector is concerned. We've already found a democratic mainstreaming after the abrogation of Article 370, which happened in 2019. But what will happen with the inauguration of the Chenab Bridge is that we now have a Vande Bharat train between Jammu and Kashmir, which will run on a daily basis, bringing people close together. That will remove any kinds of misgivings that may exist in the valley, in a section of the people in the valley, because they are able to connect with people in Jammu and also through this particular railway network and new bridge to people across the country. So bringing people of Kashmir outside of Kashmir is also very important. It's a very important arm and wing of national mainstreaming process, which is ongoing.
In Jammu and Kashmir itself, you talked about the Zedmore Tunnel. This tunnel ensures year-round access to Sonmarg and Ladakh, bypassing avalanche-prone routes. How does infrastructure like this strengthen both civilian life and national security? Because this is very important not only for civilian life but also for strategic importance.
I think you're very right when you say that these investments are not mere investments in physical infrastructure. These are strategic investments which will actually strengthen national security and defense logistics. For example, what will a Z-More tunnel do? Not only will it make the lives of people living around that area easier because you are going to bypass all the avalanche affected areas of that segment, but also what it will do is it will enable and facilitate movement of goods and troops. God forbid there is a tension along the border areas. What are you going to do? So we have to remain in a state of full alertness and preparedness. This is a marked shift in the policy of the government. If you look at the Congress-led UPA era, you would find comments by then Defence Minister Mr. A.K. Antony, who used to argue that border development should not be aggressively pursued as a policy because it sends wrong signals to the neighbours. But then this government has a diametrically opposite, contrasting policy. They believe in creating a level of deterrence that will prevent the enemy from keeping an evil eye on the country. And in case there is an issue, you have to be prepared to defend the borders and defend the people. So projects like Z-More, earlier Atal Tunnel, Zojala Pass Tunnel, these are all major pillars in strategic investments in infrastructure in order to bolster national security.
Aditi, you have been covering the general budget for last many years, rather decades. This year, if you see, the government's capital investment crossed 11.21 lakh crore. This is about 3.1% of the GDP. And in the last 3-4 years, it has continuously grown. So how do you see it?
It's a very important phase in our infrastructure journey because we see that record investments are being made in capital outlay, and as you rightly said, that 11 lakh crore of investment has been committed in just the first 100 days of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's third term. This is reflective of an extraordinary pace of progress which the government is seeking to achieve, and we can see a lot of developments and progress and growth on the ground also. For instance, if you simply look at the road and highway sector, which this government treats as a cornerstone of the infrastructure program. So since 2014, the length of national highways alone has nearly more than doubled. And if you look at the average annual construction of national highways, it has also surged from about 8 kilometers a day in 2014 to nearly 40 kilometers a day today.
That's correct. And imagine a state joining the railway map of India after independence, almost after 75 years. Yes, I'm talking about Mizoram. First time passenger train and freight train has reached Aizawl.
That's a very important project. I think, if I'm correct, it has cost around 8,000 crore and it has now been commissioned, and in fact the first freight movement has even happened between Assam and Aizawl in Mizoram. And it's hard to imagine that we are so many years into independence and that a certain part of the northeast was not even connected with the mainline railway network of the country. You only come alive to these things when you actually see projects like these being inaugurated. These are momentous projects.
Yes, and local products like bamboo, horticulture and specialty crops can now reach national markets. How significant is this shift for the Northeast's economy?
You see, Northeast has for a very long time been very distant from the mainland country because of problems in connectivity, because of lack of road infrastructure, railway connectivity, even for instance air connectivity. Over the past few years, we have seen a very aggressive model being adopted by the government to connect the Northeast, because Northeast is strategically an extremely important area of the country. We all know the importance of the Chicken Neck, the Siliguri corridor. It's an area where government's single-minded focus is visible, I would say the most, apart from Jammu and Kashmir integration through infrastructure. Northeast is the next big story, and the village border development program also is very successfully being pursued in not just the Himalayan areas of the country, but also in the Northeast.
We have seen infrastructure growth not only in the tough terrain area, hilly areas of Mizoram and Jammu and Kashmir. In Bihar, the first Namo Bharat has reduced travel time dramatically. Similarly, we have seen Delhi Meerut RRTS also became fully operational this year. So how do you see it?
See, the metro network, like you are mentioning, is the soul of the urban connectivity. We all remember that Kolkata Metro came in 1984, after which the next big metro was the Delhi Metro Rail Corporation, which was established in 1995. And then later on the routes began getting commissioned. During the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government, a lot of infrastructure focus was given. For instance, the National Highway Development Project was set up. Then you had the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Then Mr. Narendra Modi's government came and they took this forward in a very, very big way. We also cannot forget to mention the importance of the Sagarmala project that was launched in 2015. It's a huge project, has given a massive boost to Indian ports, has unleashed the potential of our maritime sector. So that's one area where the government is now consistently focused, because blue economy is going to be a very important pillar of India's growth story. And as we all know that India has managed to clock 8.2% of GDP through this year, despite the pressure of US tariffs.
Yes, and how can we forget Tamil Nadu's new Pamban Bridge? India's first vertical lift sea bridge is another standout of the year. It was inaugurated this year. Does this reflect India's growing confidence in advanced engineering and design?
Absolutely. It's a marvel in engineering. And what's interesting also is that the infrastructure growth story is spanning across the country. Like, it's a very fine example of Ek Bharat Shresht Bharat project of the government, where, regions are getting connected. You have infrastructure project coming up in Mizoram. Mizoram connected with the national railway network for the first time. Chenab Bridge in Jammu and Kashmir. You have Tamil Nadu vertical sea bridge. Then you have in Kerala the container port that has come up. So it's a very wide spectrum of growth across the country. So it's not as though it's a skewed growth. So this has become also possible because of the landmark project of the government, which is called the PM Gati Shakti project. It was launched in 2021 with a $1.6 trillion of outlay, and it brings together 16 ministries. It has broken the silos. Everybody works together to arrange land, to arrange NOCs, to ensure that projects are carried out at record speeds.
That's very true. You are telling about the Gati Shakti, and if we have to achieve the goal of Viksit Bharat at 2047, let's listen to what Prime Minister Narendra Modi has to say about infrastructure development.
देश को आगे बढ़ाना है तो भारत को आधुनिकता की तरफ गए बिना कोई चारा नहीं, और इसलिए हमने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की तरफ बहुत बड़ा ध्यान दिया है। और ये भी माने, भारत की एक जमाने में पहचान थी गुलामी के कालखंड के पहले। गुलामी के कालखंड के पहले ये देश आर्किटेक्चर के लिए, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए दुनिया में उसकी एक ताकत थी, पहचान थी। गुलामी के कालखंड में सारा नष्ट हो गया। देश आजाद होने के बाद वो दिन दोबारा में आएगा ऐसी आशा थी, लेकिन वो भी समय बीत गया। जो होना चाहिए था, जिस गति से होना चाहिए, जिस स्केल से होना चाहिए था, वो हम नहीं कर पाए। आज उसमें बहुत बड़ा बदलाव देखा जा रहा है। सड़क हो, समुद्री मार्ग हो, व्यापार हो, वाटरवेज हो, हर क्षेत्र में आज इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का कायाकल्प देख रहा है।
Let's talk about aviation sector, Aditi. Now we can see that in aviation sector, the inauguration of Navi Mumbai's international airport marked a major milestone, with airports increasing from 74 in the year 2014 to 163 in 2025. Has air travel truly become more accessible for the common citizen?
Yes, in fact, this decade has been a decade of democratization of air travel, because if you look at the past data, you will realize that nearly 400 new air routes have been made operational, and a number of airstrips that were lying dysfunctional have been revived. We have this very well publicized scheme called Udan, Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik, which is also a success story in its own way. And you are right when you say that the number of airports has increased significantly, and there are plans that the government will add 120 new destinations over the period of the next 10 years.
Correct. India is projected to add $1 trillion to its GDP every 12 to 18 months going forward. And as we move toward Viksit Bharat 2047, what role exactly will infrastructure continue to play in shaping India's future? Just in one line, Aditi.
Yeah, it's going to play a huge role, because if you look at the IMF study, it tells you that for every $1 million of USD spent on infrastructure, you generate countless jobs, especially in developing economies. So that's what India is moving towards.
Listeners, 2025 has shown us something powerful. When vision meets execution, infrastructure doesn't just build roads and bridges, it builds confidence, opportunity, and a new India. Aditi, thank you very much for joining us in the studio.
Thank you.
Under the special series 2025, the Year of Reforms, you were listening to a discussion on a year of infrastructure breakthroughs. The participants were Aditi Tandon, senior journalist, and Harsh Ranjan, anchor. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR.
Spotlight.